Oh, Volume 6 of RWBY. Will this season rise like the moon, or will it be like the moon from Majora's Mask and want to crash and kill us all?
I see it, and now it's all within my reach. I see it now. It's always been inside of me. And now I feel so free. And there's possibility. And there's possibility. And there's possibility.
Hello everyone, and today I'm taking a look at RWBY Volume 6. So, not much to say really, so let's just dive into the plot. The plot of this volume is that it takes place 2 weeks after the events of Volume 5, where Team RWBY is heading off to Atlas to meet up with Ironwood to find the next relic, but unfortunately, Ozpin forgot to tell them that the relics attract Grimm, leads to a fight on the train, where Team RWBY crashes into the snow, and had to make their way to Argus to meet up with Team Juniper. Now, before we continue with the main plot, let's talk about the 2 other plots going on this season. First off, there's the plot with Salem and her team, where basically Salem's telling them how much failures they are when it came to the fight of Haven, and not gonna lie, this storyline's kinda boring. There's only one scene in this entire storyline with Salem and her group that's actually interesting to me, and that's the scene where Mercury and Emerald talk, and where Mercury tells Emerald about his backstory, where his father was an abusive person, and because of that, Mercury killed him, and Emerald's all like,
"Ooh, I don't know if I'm really evil or just evil curious."
So, yeah, not much to say about that plot. And then there's the third plot where we find out, shock of all shocks, Cinder's alive from her battle with Raven.
What? You're not dead?
And she finds Neo. And Neo, for some reason, has Torchwick's hat. I don't know how that works, because at the end of Volume 3, they showed when Torchwick was getting eaten by the giant Grimm, his hat was on. And does that mean Torchwick keeps spares? I'm just saying, I mean, it does look pretty cool, Neo wearing the hat, but still. And now let's talk about the main plot again, where we find out about Salem and Ozpin's backstory due to a genie in the Relic of Knowledge, and also we find out more about the Silver Eyes, which is actually good because, yeah, in Volumes 4 and 5, they basically forgot about that, except for one scene in Volume 5 where RWBY activates it when John is about to get killed, but still, and we find out about the Silver Eyes because of a new character named Maria, who was a former Silver-Eyed warrior, and they meet up at Argo with, Team Juniper. We meet John's family, well, technically his sister, but you get what I mean, and they hatch a plan to steal an airship to get to Atlas, because the person running there isn't too fond of them. Well, she's perfectly fine with Weiss getting on there, but everyone else, nah. And during the plan, when Blake goes to a radio tower, Adam decides to drop in and say hi, and it leads to my favorite scene of the volume.
How's my bumper station, asshole?
And it leads to the final confrontation between Yang, Blake, and Adam, where both Yang and Blake stab that dirtbag and send him into the river to die. He got what he deserved. And while that's happening, we have a giant mech fight with a giant Grimm, where RWBY finds out how to control the Silver Eye power because of flashbacks, and it leads to the main characters barely being able to go to Atlas because the woman in charge basically said, "Okay, you saved my butt, I'm just gonna let you get off and do whatever you want," and the volume ends with the entire team reaching Atlas. Now, let's talk about something people are pretty split on. That being Ozpin and Salem's backstory. Some people love it, others hate it. But for me, I enjoyed it. For one, I understand their relationship, how both of them were former lovers after Ozpin saved Salem from the tower. And I know in the flashbacks he's called Ozma, but I'm just going to call him Ozpin because, well, we're used to calling him Ozpin, so there. And due to an illness, Ozpin died. Salem went to both God of Light and Darkness, asked for them to bring him back, with both of them realizing that she pulled a prank on them and tricked them into bringing Ozpin back, with the God of Light giving her immortality, basically saying, if you want to respect life and death, you will be immortal, but after you learn your lesson, your immortality will be taken away. But Salem was having none of that and decided to lead a revolution against the gods, with leading to full-out extinction on the human race. And also, we find out why the moon is so messed up because the god of both light and darkness decided to pull a Dr. Eggman on us.
I'm pissed on the moon, you idiot!
And after that, the god of light decides to bring back Ozpin because, well, he needed to find someone to fight Salem. But hold on just a second. A few minutes ago, he said Salem needs to respect the balance of life and death. But here he's completely throwing that out of the way. So, to bring back Ozpin, did he just forget his own rules? And yeah. Now, there are some good things that come out of this, and I'll talk about the good things first. For one, I love the characters' reactions to finding out that Salem can't be killed. Especially with Oscar, John, and Crow's reaction. With Oscar, I love his reaction of being like, am I doomed to just be another life for him? And Ruby's all like, oh, don't worry, Oscar, you'll be fine. But Crow's basically just saying, hey, Ruby, don't lie to the kid. We know what's going to happen to him. Just going to be a pawn for Ozpin. And I also do love Crow's reaction, because with Crow, he yells at Ozpin saying, hey, before you, I was just nothing but bad luck. But because of you, you gave me a family and a home. But now, it feels like all that was for nothing, and I especially love John's reaction to all this, how he grabs Oscar and throws him against a wall, saying, because of you, Pyrrha died for nothing. And that was actually a pretty well done scene, not gonna lie. And also, it does lead to one of my favorite episodes in the entire series, that being the 2 episodes at Brunswick Village. I especially love these 2 episodes. It nails the horror themed element down to a T, especially with the apathy Grimm. Basically, these are Grimm that make you feel like to give up on life, and with Crow, it was done spectacularly. How we see his alcoholism is a bad thing, and we have Ruby concerned for Crow's whereabouts of being drunk. That I thought was perfectly done and was just beautiful. However, for the good stuff I mentioned, there are some negatives. Like, for example, like I brought up earlier, if the God of Light was so, like, hey, you can't bring back someone back from the dead, but he decides to bring back Ozpin back from the dead out of nowhere. And also, this is another issue. Why didn't they just take away Salem's immortality? Seriously. And don't tell me, oh, they still want her to learn a lesson. I'm pretty sure after making a revolution against the gods, they would know she's gone off the deep end and is basically Little Miss Hellspawn. So, yeah, why couldn't they just take away her immortality? And also, second issue with this, Salem. Salem does this because she was told no 3 times. Really? And my final, well, actually there are 2 more issues. One, this is just a problem in general with villains that are unkillable. You know, by the end of the series, it kind of puts the writers in a corner with how the main characters are supposed to defeat this said unkillable bad guy. And they're all like, okay, we gotta pull a Deus Ex Machina out of us, so to destroy the big bad. So, yeah, it kind of makes me worried that in the final season, when the team is supposed to fight Salem, they're gonna do a Deus Ex Machina. And also, let's talk about Ozpin's kids. Here's the thing. Why? Because I get that they're trying to make Salem going all crazy more believable because she kills her own kids, but still, just killing Ozpin in this form would have been nice, and it would probably show that she's gone off the deep end. And also, all 4 of these children have clothing similar to that of the 4 maidens. Does that mean the 4 maidens are reincarnated versions of them? I'm just saying. And also, I do have one last issue I want to talk about with this volume. Oscar. Now, I don't hate Oscar. I think he's a fine character. However, when they get to Argus, after the scene where John yells at Oscar, he decides to run off. And now, while they do explain later when he gets back that he has decided, hey, I'm still going to help you out anyway, I feel like there was a scene missing. You know what I mean? Where he's in Argus, on a bench thinking to himself, should I still help them out even though I can just walk away from all this because Ozpin decided to leave us and not talk to us anymore? Or should I just stay and help? I feel like that scene was cut for the scene with John and Piero's mom, which, don't get me wrong, is a beautiful scene and is one of my favorite scenes in this volume and in the entire series, and I love they have that scene in here. I just wish we got to see Oscar finally, you know, being a hero and saying, you know what, I'm still going to help out anyway, rather than it being told to us. I would have preferred if it was shown to us. But that's just me. Now, for my positives, first off, I love how they finally get to explain how the Silver Eyes work because of Maria, who was a former Silver-Eyed warrior. And this is one of my big problems with Volume 5. Why didn't RWBY just ask Ozpin, hey, instead of training hand-to-hand combat, why don't you teach me how to use my Silver Eye power? Seriously, I would have appreciated that. And I do like how we get an explanation, like how they're mostly about, you know, being emotional reactions to things, which does work, since the 2 times we have seen it, it's been RWBY having an emotional reaction. And also, another thing I do like is how they're not instant kill moves, because at the final battle, when she uses it on the Giant Grim, it doesn't one-hit KO it. Instead, it only just puts in like a little shell thing for the giant mech to destroy it. That I thought was pretty cool. And also, as I said earlier, I love the stuff with Crow, how we see him handling his alcoholism and him going over the board with it, almost to the point where he could die, which I thought was interesting because usually Crow is seen as the cool drunk character, but now we see him as his alcoholism is getting the worst of him. And yeah, and I also like how RWBY is growing as a character this volume, instead of getting more powers, where she tells Crow, hey, we're going to go with John's plan to sneak on board an airship to get to Atlas. I like that because finally, RWBY is developing as a character. And also, like I said earlier, the scene with John and Piero's mom was nice. And let's talk about the action scenes. I loved pretty much every action scene in this volume. I love the train fight. It was really well done. I also love the fight in the past where we see Maria fighting some of Salem's goons. I thought that was well done, and it was just had a high energy to it, and was really fun to watch. And of course, the mech fight was pretty cool, and even gave me some Metal Gear Rising Revengeance flashbacks to how RWBY is jumping from missile to missile to get to Kurila. I don't know how to pronounce her name, you know, her mech. I thought that was really awesome. And of course, Blake and Yang versus Adam. I love this fight. In fact, here's a fun fact for all you people. In Volume 3, they originally intended for an actual fight between Adam and Yang. In fact, they even reused some unused footage for this fight, which I thought was awesome. And people complained saying, but in Volume 3, how could they instantly beat... they got their butts kicked by Adam, but here they're able to beat him easily. Well, actually, they were struggling, and Yang says to Adam that she didn't get smarter, no, she didn't get faster, she got smarter, which makes sense. And I thought Adam got a good farewell, because in Volume 5, he was a joke at the end by getting one-shotted, but here he goes out with dignity fighting, and also, he's gone cuckoo, so of course he's not going to be on his A-game. But hey, at least Adam went out with dignity rather than in Volume 5, where he gets one-shotted like an idiot. And yeah. And also, one last thing I do want to talk about is that I do enjoy the stuff with Cinder and Neo, though I'm pretty sure Neo's going to backstab Cinder, and also I'm pretty sure Emerald's going to be a good guy because of that scene I mentioned earlier. But yeah, Volume 6 was an improvement from Volume 5, but does have its issues like I mentioned earlier. It does have some great moments of characters, and the animation still gets better and better, and the fight scenes were a huge step above Volume 5, where in Volume 5 there were only 2 fights I liked. Here I liked pretty much every fight, especially the one at the end with Blake, Adam, and Yang. But yeah, overall, this season isn't perfect, but hey, I'll work with it. Besides, the next volume is really dang good. Probably the best volume since Volume 3. So that being said, I'm going to give RWBY Volume 6 an 8 out of 10. It was pretty dang good. So guys, what did you think of RWBY Volume 6? Did you enjoy it, or did you not? So yeah, join me next time as we take a look at RWBY Volume 7. See y'all later and have a good day.